It's morning at Gutenberg Castle in central Germany. Klaus Fensloff is going to work on an egg in a very unusual way. He rears white-tailed sea eagles, and his efforts are part of a European plan to restore the species to places in which it used to live. One of these places is Scotland, and this programme is about that particular part of the plan, a fascinating story that links Germany, Norway and Scotland. It reveals the private life of one of Europe's most spectacular birds that starts life as a helpless chick and becomes a super predator with a 7-foot wingspan. This fine bird used to be common in northern Europe, but man has ruthlessly persecuted it from Iceland to Greece, from France to Russia. In Scotland, the call of a nesting white-tailed sea eagle was last heard over these cliffs on the island of Skye in 1916. But man exterminated them there, and this story is about how he's changed his mind. We begin in Norway, north of the Arctic Circle, before dawn in midwinter. At this time of year, the night is 14 hours long. Temperatures sink to minus 20 degrees centigrade, and the sea often freezes. Days are short, grey and gloomy. The sea eagle survives here, but only just. It doesn't migrate to areas of more daylight, and therefore has to be finding food from the moment there's any light in the sky. There are other animals here through the punishing winter. Otters have also been on the hunt, and if they've been successful, others will benefit. Gulls and crows scavenge the shoreline, and competition is severe for any food scrap, either the leavings of an otter or fish washed up after having been killed in the ferocious currents of the Norwegian fiords. Ravens, too, here tackling the remains of a Norwegian haddock. They're wary as a result of years of persecution, and it's only after they've arrived that the eagle drops in, cautiously. This is a fine adult. The young ones lack the white tail and yellow bill. As well as fish, they also eat seabirds, particularly eider ducks, rabbits and hares, even animals as big as a swan or a seal. Its food, proved and unproved, has been the key to its fate. And already there are signs of spring. Eiders are displaying. Despite the frozen landscape, the increasing day length encourages courtship. And the ravens respond too. So do the eagles. This display is a familiar sight in North Norway because in all Europe it's here that the largest population of white-tailed sea eagles still survive, some 500 to 600 pairs. That's 3/4 of the European population. In fact, Norway has the largest population of these birds in the world. Successful breeding will depend on getting enough food this winter. And if they haven't been successful today, they'll conserve their energy and go to roost. Tomorrow, they will search again. Mobbing ravens drive them to the shelter of the trees. They pair for life, can live up to 20 years, and stay within a territory of between 20 to 50 square miles. Now they're coming into roost in a safe place, away from their traditional enemy, man. The people here have the same problem as the eagle in finding food and surviving through the long winter. So it's hardly surprising that man has seen the eagle as a competitor for limited resources. On the land, he felt his sheep were threatened, even his children. And throughout Europe, he's waged relentless war on this eagle. Here in Norway, he used an unusual system. A stone hut was built and bait put out nearby. A man would enter the hut in the dark, often in freezing conditions, and next day pull the bait towards a hole in the hut. Then the eagle, desperate for food, would follow the bait until it was right by the hole, to be grabbed by the man hiding inside and killed. Several eagles could be killed in a morning in this way, and the population decreased year by year, here and in Britain, and indeed throughout Europe. But now, fortunately for the eagle, attitudes have changed, and it's legally protected in most countries. Biologists are investigating its food and breeding behavior. How much of a threat, if any, is it to man? Is the population increasing now as a result of protection, or not? The eagle breeds both inland, in cliffs and trees, and along the coast. In early spring, Harold Missund checks about 35 breeding sites. His activities are a crucial link between Norway and Scotland. It would certainly be a welcome return to have this bird fishing again off the coast of Britain. As the fish and prawns are brought in, there's a sudden abundance of food, and at times up to 30 eagles may gather, a reminder of the potential success of the species given a good chance. The local people now seldom persecute them, and their reputation for sheep and reindeer killing is disappearing. Certainly the human fishermen are quite happy to have these other fishermen alongside, even though they make the arduous business of fishing look so easy. Spring at last. Now, in the very long days, with clear water and abundant food, the eagles are nesting. From the forested mountains inland to the flat islands where the many fishermen live. After the cold grip of winter, this is a time of relaxation and plenty. Eagles' nests are sometimes close to the villages out on the islands. The chick on the nest platform may be threatened because some of the older fishermen still burn nests every year. Old habits and attitudes die hard, though the younger men now mostly accept the eagle as a good neighbour. The parents must find 1/2 to 3/4 of a pound of food a day for the chick that will be in the nest for 2 months. The next meal could come with the unintentional help of an otter. There seems to be a definite link between otters and eagles, and often eagles' nests and otters' holts are close together. The otter's leftovers, in this case a lumpsucker, make easy pickings for the eagle. Gull chicks could also be on the menu, and the parents mob the eagle. A good form of defence is attack. Research, including ringing, is part of a long-term study by the local ornithologists. This scientific approach is in contrast with the old attitudes. Back in the 16th century, there was a bounty paid for killing sea eagles, and their claws were in demand as a remedy for jaundice. In the 19th century, over 61,000 sea and golden eagles were shot in 23 years. For such a big, powerful bird, the young are surprisingly unaggressive, so killing them at the easily accessible nests was no problem in the pre-research days. It's been found that eagles nesting inland breed later than those on the coast, probably because spring reaches here a little later on. Some nests are huge. In one case, more than 3,000 sticks over 6 feet long were counted in a 4-year-old nest. Now the parent carefully feeds the chick, But soon as the chick grows, the food will be simply dumped at the nest and the chick will deal with it on its own. As the various occupants of the various nests continue to grow on a good food supply, Harold Misfunt goes into action. He's visiting an island where he knows there's a nest with 2 young. With him is a local warden who's been protecting this particular nest. But with his full agreement and a special government license, Harold will take 1, and only 1, of the young. And he will do the same at several other specially selected nests in the forests and on the islands. Often only 1 young survives in a nest, so those being removed represent a natural surplus. Half of the chicks that leave the nest will die before they're 1 year old, an indication of the winter harshness of this place. The chicks are kept at a holding base where Harold ensures that they're in good condition. Soon they will go on a journey that will take them well across Europe in a day. In other words, as fast as possible to minimize stress. An RAF Nimrod is the first and fastest part of the trip. Every summer for 6 years, young eagles have made the journey from Norway to Scotland. Already the osprey, another fish-catching bird of prey, has returned to Scotland, but being a long-range migrant, it achieved this under its own steam. The sea eagle is much less migratory and so needs this kind of help. Arrival at RAF Kinloss, and even eagles need a kind of passport to enter Britain. And the VIP treatment. There's international interest in this project, with the World Wildlife Fund a major supporter. Staff of the Nature Conservancy Council, also very involved with this project, then take them by car right across Scotland to Mallaig on the west coast. Then by boat to the island of Rum. And it's here, at the end of the journey of 12 hours, that a Norwegian white-tailed sea eagle becomes a Scottish white-tailed sea eagle. Their new home, not actually in the famous castle, seems ideal. The whole island of 26,500 acres is a nature reserve, and most important, there's plenty of food. Highland cattle and red deer will provide carcasses, and the island has, like Norway, a good population of fish and seabirds. For example, 100,000 Manx shearwaters nest here, and there are also good numbers of otters and their leftovers. Research has shown that sheep are very rarely eaten, and if they are, the source is usually an already dead animal. Birds from Norway are kept in cages with food dumps nearby. The food helps the already released birds through the winter, which in their first year is a critical time. Since 1975, some 40 sea eagles have been released here on Rum, and Nature Conservancy warden John Love has watched them grow to what is now a breeding age. This is Sula, released in 1976 with almost a full white tail. They can breed after about 5 years, and now there are signs of this happening. Talon grappling in display. And stick carrying, which is a sure sign of interest. The birds from previous years are in contact with recent arrivals still in the cages. Bonds that are formed now may enable the birds to keep together later and to help each other locate food during the winter. For the same reasons, the new arrivals are kept together, and after 10 weeks they can fly, albeit along a wire. After release, they will be independent by Christmas, but they can kill for themselves within a month. After removing the tethers, a hood is used to minimize stress. And at last, freedom. In September 1981, 2 of the birds reared by Klaus Fenslov in the castle in Germany join the Norwegian birds on Rum. So, again, white-tailed sea eagles will soar and call over the cliffs of Scotland, where once they were so common. Certainly they are a fine sight, and perhaps we ought to have them back just to put the record straight. After all, man removed them in the first place. It could also be that their return will help to indicate the state of the environment. Though Norway's sea eagles are thriving, in other countries poisons like mercury and DDT in fish food chains are killing eagles and preventing breeding. In Sweden, many tons of clean food are put out for them in winter, but eagles are still shot and their nests raided. Here in Scotland, Erin, one of the eagles, was found killed by poisoned bait. But if general attitudes continue to change in the eagle's favour, it could be that one day Scotland will hold a major proportion of Europe's sea eagles, which would be a triumphant end to a truly international effort on behalf of a truly magnificent bird. The red-tailed hawk of North America is at home right across that huge continent. It soars from coast to coast, from the Arizona desert in the south to the cities of the far north. It's a highly adaptable species, at home in a giant cactus or on a man-made artificial tree, like these electricity pylons, where it's well protected by the power around it. In the past, red-tailed hawks were hunted wherever they occurred. But today, they're protected by law, and the main threat comes from the demands made by human beings on their living space. But they're tolerant and adaptable, and in some places in the United States, there are as many as 1 pair per square mile. They particularly relish a mixed, varied landscape like this one, where there are woodlands, fields of maize, marshes, ponds, and roadside verges, all capable of harboring food for a hungry hawk. Here, starting one early spring, we will follow the fortunes of one bird, as yet unhatched. His parents must sense that the big day is due and keep in touch continuously. This is the story of Redtail, just one of many red-tailed hawk chicks hatching this week across North America. The nest is in a patch of woodland near a farm and a riding school. In this territory, Redtail will grow up and get to know intimately the sights and sounds around him. His parents, who mate for life, display to one another overhead with hanging talons, strengthening the bond between them. They're also surveying their territory and are always on the lookout for food, scanning the farmland below with eyesight that is 5 times better than ours. Young Redtail has a permanent appetite. His potential brother or sister is not to be. The other egg failed to hatch, and the parents have already removed it. So all their attention will be devoted to Redtail. The next tree neighbour, a red-winged blackbird, keeps a careful eye on the domestic life of the hawks. Red-tailed hawks catch a wide variety of prey, including rats and mice, which are a pest on the farm. They also take birds, which explains why the local red-winged blackbirds and grackles give the parents a bad time, mobbing them as they commute to and from the nest. By this time of year, May, the nest tree, an oak, is bursting into leaf, and insects and warblers thrive in the greenery. Redtail grows fast too, and food has to be supplied in larger and larger quantities. This is a grackle, perhaps one of the mob that pursues his parents. He spends much of his time scrutinizing things around him, such as the red-winged blackbird or a passing warbler. His world of sight and sound gradually expands as his senses develop. Hawks must be very alert to everything going on around them if they're to survive, and Redtail studies the activities at the riding stables below. Fresh greenery is brought in to decorate the home. The other parent is out, hunting over the territory it knows so intimately. Young Redtail, small though he is, will swallow the snake whole. The farmers, probably unknowingly, benefit quite a lot from this hawk family. The birds will breed wherever there's a good supply of rats and mice. The more such pests there are, the more chicks they will raise. They will also take other things as well, including small birds such as red-winged blackbirds, cardinals, and American robins. Sometimes they will even tackle bigger birds. A young pheasant. Riding continues as usual, but up in the treetops there are new developments. Redtail is exercising his wings. He leaves the nest on short test flights in preparation for the great takeoff. And he's away. Now for the next problem, the mob. The blackbirds are very agitated by all this and attack both Redtail and his parents with great vigour. A kingbird is particularly aggressive and persistent. Autumn, the fall. Nuts and acorns from the oak tree will provide a winter store for the squirrel stowed away under the dying leaves. The green fades from the maples and the day is shortened. Redtail is getting restless. Soon he must head south to a different country, travelling without the company of his parents, guided by an inborn sense. The blackbirds are assembling to start making a similar journey. So are the geese. The autumn migration is now at its peak. Redtail waits no longer. To the south, away from the approaching snow. His journey to an unknown destination takes him over new sights and sounds. The world of his parents, horse riding, the farm, and the local bird life is replaced by vistas of the varied lands of North America. And very strange it must seem. And then, as he crosses the Appalachian Mountains at one particular place, another surprise. A great crowd of people, all gazing up into the sky. This is the famous Hawk Mountain, focal point for thousands of migrating hawks and vultures every fall. It's not far by air from the great cities of New York and Washington, and it attracts bird watchers from hundreds of miles around. This great outcrop of rock confronts the birds as they fly south and concentrates them into some of the biggest flocks to be seen anywhere in the United States. Red-tailed hawks reach their peak in October, and Redtail is here just a number in a notebook amongst many other statistics. Each of the other individual birds has its own story to tell of life so far, but over Hawk Mountain, to the birdwatcher, they're simply more dots in the sky. Hawks Fox used to be trapped and shot here in great numbers, but now Hawk Mountain is a sanctuary. But will Redtail be safe as he reaches the subtropics of Florida, where he finds one of the biggest surprises of all, the sea? It's the Caribbean, a different temperature, a different terrain, and all that water. It's a good place for a winter holiday, but like most first-time visitors, Redtail, to start with, has to find his way around. It's all so different. He surveys his new home from the air. And from various vantage points. A frigate bird. Not many of those back on the farm. All the movement and sounds of the sea must be fascinating, but is there anything to eat down there? And it's so hot. His first pelican. They get their food from the sea quite successfully, but then they're professional fishermen. Is that edible? A crab? It's all a question of technique. But eventually, he catches a lizard, his first meal for several days. Life here isn't so bad after all, and he doesn't know what he's missing yet. Back home, things have changed. After 5 months, the migratory urge brings him back home to the woods where he was born, though it's hardly recognizable on this snowy day in April. It's quite a shock to the system. Still, there are a few familiar faces about. The squirrel has survived the winter here thanks to its store of acorns.
The cold makes it very urgent to find food. To keep warm, these American robins must refuel all the time. Redtail watches and waits. Birds of prey spend many hours doing only this. If they do catch a decent meal of meat, its food value is high and they can afford to sit about again for quite a while. A mouse is not much, but it will keep him going until tomorrow, and maybe then spring will start to arrive. In the meantime, there's this strange stuff to contend with. Or is he looking for another mouse? At last, warmth. As the snow retreats to the north, the Canada geese return. And the mallard respond, too, to the coming of spring. Redtail's life is getting easier again. This certainly looks like a good meal. As the Canada geese fly on to the far north to breed, Redtail is trying to get his bearings on where he was born. The nest in the wood by the riding stables is still there, and his parents display overhead as they prepare to raise another family. But he's now in competition with them, in their territory, and he will have to move on. It's been a year of surprises, different for every young red-tailed hawk across North America, but they now have one thing in common: the first sign of maturity, the beginnings of a red tail.